Good evening. Welcome to this evening's City Council and Yukon Municipal Authority meeting. It is September the 9th, approximately at 7 p.m. We are gathered here in council chambers of the Centennial Building, 12 South 5th Street, the great city of Yukon, Oklahoma. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Brian Pillmore.
Here.
Jeff Wooten. Shelley Sobey.
Here.
Adam Shriver.
Here.
Rodney Zimmerman.
Here.
Thank you. At this time, we'll have an invocation delivered by Pastor Mike Jones of Town and Country Christian Church, followed by our Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand if you're able.
Our Heavenly Father, we're grateful for the protection you offered those involved in the bus crash with the Minko School District, and we still pray for those who are in recovery right now. Lord, our hearts are also saddened as the 9/11 comes up by the end of this week, Lord, and we're grateful for the protection you did offer from how much worse it could have been, but our hearts are with those families still impacted by that loss. In all of these things, Lord, we still turn to you for our comfort and our hope. I thank you and praise you for everyone who is here because they want to participate in offering direction and hope for Yukon. So I pray, Lord, tonight, as we move forward together as a community, we keep our eyes on you and look to your leadership to continue to look to the future. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Oh, they moved it.
They moved it.
Bad habits. Now give our flag salute. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
They wanted to keep us on our toes. I'm sure if I can somehow remember back to my Boy Scout days, I do think that actually is the correct placement of our nation's flag. So at this time, we will have a proclamation given to Dr. Donald W. Graves, and I'll join him down here in the front. And I know there's much family and friends and much fanfare, probably the best dressed city council meeting that we've had. So please join us at the front if you will, and Dr. Graves, please join us. Would you like to stand, sir?
No, we'd like to try.
All that way if you do.
Come on up here. I heard too many good things today from my wife, so I didn't write all those here, but there are a lot of them. Whereas the city of Yukon proudly recognizes and honors the remarkable legacy of Dr. Donald W. Graves, whose life exemplifies dedication, resilience, and service to the students and citizens of Yukon. He was born on December 21st, 1931 in Dill City, Oklahoma. Dr. Graves served honorably in the United States Army during the Korean War. He was wounded in the Battle of Pork Chop Hill and received the Purple Heart for his bravery and sacrifice. Following his service, Dr. Graves pursued higher education through the GI Bill, earning a bachelor's and master's degree from Southwestern Oklahoma State. Later, a doctorate of education from the University of Oklahoma. Dr. Graves began his teaching career in Hobart before joining Yukon High School in 1959 as a science teacher, becoming principal in 1962, and later returning as superintendent of schools in 1974 during a time of rapid growth where he worked tirelessly to provide for students and staff. Dr. Graves has been a proud member of the James Albert Wheatley American Legion Post 160 for more than 70 years, reflecting his lifelong commitment to service, patriotism, and our community. In 2023, Dr. Graves was honored by the Yukon High School Class of 63 at the all-school reunion, where former students praised his leadership, mentorship, and enduring motto, we do what's best for the kids. Therefore, I, Brian Pillmore, Mayor of the City of Yukon, Oklahoma, on behalf of the City Council and the citizens of Yukon, express our heartfelt gratitude and admiration of you, Dr. Donald W. Graves, for your distinguished service in the military and in education. We proclaim today, September 9th, 2025, as Dr. Donald W. Graves Day. Congratulations. Stay here, your family can come up for a picture. Would anyone like to come up for a picture with Dr. Graves? If they, here they all come.
I know. Yeah.
Oh, I've got back here photo barbecue.
Not behind you. Smear yeah, I got behind somebody's head, so that I wasn't in it.
All right, everybody look right here, and we'll take several. So
Thank you.
you should have planned that better. I bought it fast. I don't think $10
That's double that.
we could have got quite a pool of money together.
Thank you. Sir.
Congratulations.
We'll see you later. We'll see you later, Dr. Graves. At this time, we'll have our visitors section of our agenda. Anyone having an item of business to present to the City Council that does not appear on the agenda, please come to the podium at this time. State your name and address. You're requested to limit your presentation to 3 minutes. Any item being presented must pertain to the City of Yukon business. The Oklahoma Open Meetings Act prohibits the City Council from taking official action on requests made during this portion of the agenda unless otherwise noted on the agenda.
My name is Philip Borneman. I reside at 108 Choctaw Place here in Yukon. I'm here to request the city look into a installation of a street light on the cross street that ties Frisco into Vandament. It's very dark there. I travel that almost daily after night getting off of Interstate 40 eastbound. And when you meet a car at that intersection, that's a pretty narrow street right there.
Yes, sir.
And there is electricity there, so I don't think it would be a big logistical problem, you know, to illuminate that. But
Thank you for that input. Appreciate you.
Good evening. My name is Donovan Furr, resident of Yukon 738 Woodlawn. I'd like to speak for a minute on the data center. Is this the appropriate place?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. So I'm not usually the guy that gets involved with this, but I believe that this data center could have significant impact to most of, if not all of our residents. This evening I want to present some concerns related to water, energy, and how the funds would be used. So this data center will rely on our community's water utilities for cooling. Our city currently imports water from OKC to mitigate the arsenic content in our water. From what I could find, our city uses about 2.5 millions of gallons of water per day. Currently, the wastewater treatment plant is rated for a max of 3 million gallons of water per day. And in Mesa, Arizona, the Meta Google data center sought up to 4 million gallons of water per day. So while we've been granted some federal grants for enhancement of our waste treatment facility for modernization, repairs, and increased capacity, I'm concerned with how this data center could impact even those modernizations, and if we would have our residents impacted by that. Additionally, how will this impact our nearby lakes and our water table and those who rely on the well water? Regarding energy, we all received notices from OG&E this year about the increased data prices for our utilities. And that's going to be over the next few years. And, you know, in this economy, that's pain enough. So for this data center, bulk electricity will be purchased so that they get a great rate. Yukon gets a kickback for the guaranteed customer with OG&E. But for whatever energy that the data center does not use, does that cost come to us, the residents? Will we be required to cover that cost? And that's, you know, significant impact to us already. And then how will you ensure that the grid itself for our thousands of residents is not impacted by this data center being implemented? And then finally, how will our individual citizens and families benefit with this coming in? Though we homeschool, me and my wife Haley, we pay our taxes to support our teachers and our students here in Yukon. Will those schools be better funded for more per student resources or better teacher pay? Will our property taxes be lowered because this significant windfall should significantly cover some of our existing costs and upcoming projects? So in conclusion, I urge you to look into the possibility of the AI bubble popping and the rapid obsolescence of data center equipment. I'm with you that we need to find ways to bring money to Yukon, but I'm not convinced that the data center is the best way to do it without significant impact to our residents. So I just leave you with 3 questions. When will an environmental impact survey be accomplished and available for us to review? When will you show us how those funds would be used? And will this council be more transparent in the future, since the discussion regarding the investor and the vote was not shared with the constituents before a decision was made? Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Furr.
Guess who it is, Ashley? Stephanie Burdine, 515 Maple. I was just going to speak about OG&E and the Corporation Commission, because you told us last week that was our venue to go with our concerns for electrical prices. Once again, the ink didn't get dry. Friday the 22nd, we all received letters from OG&E saying that they wanted to vote and we needed to do a price increase. And the average citizen, business, these price increases don't just affect my house or your house. They affect everyone's house. They affect the city's budget. They affect the school district's budget. They affect churches' budgets. They affect small business budgets. And the companies, the end users that benefit from the data centers. Amazon's third quarter this year, third quarter earnings, not year to date, third quarter, $158.9 billion. Apple, $94 billion. Now these are all just third quarter profits. Google, they're in the state already, $88.3 billion. Microsoft, $42 billion. Meta, $40.5 billion. The reason I'm bringing this up here is so all the citizens who are paying attention will know that they need to contact all 3 members of the Corporation Commission and voice their concerns. You have to go online to register to attend these meetings, and the meeting is October 8th at 9 a.m. at their office building on North Lincoln. I hope the City Council, I hope one of you all can go to that meeting and hear and hopefully voice your concern for the average citizen that you represent. Thank you.
was gonna mention the electricity too. I've got a whole lot here I could mention, but I'm not gonna take that long. I've got a email here that was sent from Daniel Levinson of Beltline, what is it called? Beltline Energy, to Mitchell Hort on February 19th, 2025. It talks about, we do believe we can achieve the 500 acres in Yukon if the city's acreage is included. He's referring to the closer we can get to 500 acres gives us the opportunity to create an energy campus, which typically will include some sort of clean energy component in addition to 7 to 10 data center buildings developed over 7 to 10 years. None of this information was given before they voted to rezone or any of the things that happened at the Planning Commission, which was supposed to be a public hearing. There was no public hearing, as far as I'm concerned, because there was so much misinformation given during that meeting, and I've got it logged. I can go data point by data point. They pretended like they didn't know there was a data center coming, even though by the time we got home, the data center was on the agenda. I have an email here from from Beltline Energy, let's see, Charles Contz to Danielle O'Neill, dated March 11th, 2025. Good afternoon, Danielle. We are developing a project in Yukon on parcel number, whatever, 09000. Can you please provide us aerial maps and water sewer infrastructure in the area? This has been going on for a long time, and there's been lots of people kept in the dark. I'm not sure if I know some of the planning commissioners did not know, but this is not okay. You don't keep secrets, you don't do things in the dark, and you don't spring things like this on people. The electricity that I was gonna mention, the reason it takes, and that's between the company and Google. That's between the company and, the company and, OG&E, not Yukon. We won't have a say-so in that. And the reason it takes them 12 to 24 months is because they go and visit the corporation commissioners first. And it takes a while to get that rate hike. But rate hike, they will get. It's been happening all over the place. You mentioned at lunch today that that we would be like Stillwater. Well, there's lawsuits against Stillwater. An HOA is having to file lawsuit against Google. Wonder how that's gonna work out. Anyway, I would suggest that we revisit and have a public hearing and have the citizens of Yukon get to weigh in on whether or not we want a data center here. It will wreck our town. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Say. At this time, we'll recess as Yukon City Council and reconvene as Yukon Municipal Authority. Mr. Horn, would you like to say something?
Lies, lies, and more lies. I received a notice on 8/27 to mow one of my lots. A lot I have leased out. And it needed to be mowed. My tenant usually mows that. But there was, somebody had dumped some tree limbs on that lot, and it's mowed now. But you know, I got this letter a week ago, 8/27, I think is when it was written. It gave me 10 days to clean it up. And it came to my attention today that a piece of property that the mayor owns was 6 foot deep, unmowed, had been unmowed all summer, and had been, there'd been multiple complaints with no action taken. You're tearing people's houses down. I was here, was it the last meeting, the meeting before? There's a house in between two of my houses. I requested, don't tear it down. Doesn't belong to me, but it doesn't need to be torn down. You approved for it to be torn down. You're tearing people's houses down, sending me notices to mow my property, but you won't mow your own. And today, there was a city crew on that property cleaning it up. Now, was it abated?
Yes, sir. Sir, I think you have a few facts.
I don't know if you're
Sir.
able to, is he able to respond?
Mr.
to me?
Horn, I believe some of the facts that you have are mistaken, and I'd be happy to correct some of those facts a little bit later. But
Well, let's talk about it now.
we're not able
If
to,
you're gonna talk about it,
unfortunately.
is what you're
But I'd
gonna
be happy
say.
to correct some of the facts.
What you're gonna say is that the ditch, the
Mr.
city
Horn,
crew was cleaning the ditch. The city crew wasn't cleaning the ditch. If they
Mr.
were,
Horn.
why weren't they cleaning the ditch across the street that the city owns?
Mr. Horn, I believe that you're an honorable gentleman, and I don't think you'd want to slander someone. And I think some of the facts that you've stated are incorrect. I'd be happy to connect with you afterwards. Would that be fair? Thank you. At this time, we'll recess as Yukon City Council and reconvene as Yukon Municipal Authority. We'll take up the YMA consent docket. This item is placed on the agenda so the Yukon Municipal Authority, by unanimous consent, can designate those routine items they wish to be approved by one motion. Should the authority determine that any item cannot be approved by unanimous vote, that item will be removed from the consent docket and considered separately. The city manager recommends a motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of August 13th, 2025. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have any discussion? Seeing no discussion, Madam Clerk, could you please call the vote?
Selby,
Yes.
Shriver.
Yes.
Zimmerman,
Yes.
Pillmore,
Yes. This time we'll have discussion and consideration, possible action regarding the approval of an employment agreement with Jeffrey Deckard to serve as city manager, municipal authority manager, and manager of the Yukon Economic Development Authority. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Any second? I'll second the item. Any discussion on this item?
I guess I'm confused why we're voting on this, because while I was out of town, you guys voted on this already. I wasn't allowed to have any input on it, even though I sat through 6 or 7 hours of interviews. Why are we voting on it again?
This is actually a vote for the city manager contract, Councilwoman Selby.
Okay, well, in that contract, I get why we were paying Castro and Tammy, and they had the experience, but we're gonna be paying Jeff $202,000 a year with no experience as a city manager. So I guess I'm confused on that, why, if he doesn't have the experience, why we would pay him as much as we paid Castro, who had a lot of experience. Also, I understand we paid Castro $40,000 to move from Texas to Yukon, but we're paying Jeff $40,000 to move from 10th Street into Yukon. Does that seem a little excessive?
I'd be happy to take up both items. I'll begin with the relocation stipend, which is a $40,000 stipend in order to relocate into city limits. Our city charter requires the movement of a city manager, if they don't already live in city limits, to move into city limits. And today, with the cost of selling a home, purchasing a home, and moving household goods, it's a significant expense. If you just take a 6% realtor commission on a $350,000 home, you're already talking about $21,000. There's other closing costs involved, the moving services, and so on.
So this is a closing cost, this isn't a moving expense. That's
It's
how
a
it was
relocation stipend. So the other way you can
That's
do
not how it
this,
was
the other way
stated.
that this is done in corporate relocations is that you don't have a cap on or you could have a cap, but essentially you reimburse the person for bona fide expenses, and it gets to be pretty complicated. This is a simplified approach. We're a good-sized city, but we're not a gigantic city. The last relocation that I did, well, the last two, were six-figure sums that were reimbursed directly by the company that I worked for. So I think $40,000 to relocate from outside city limits to inside city limits is a bargain for the city.
then we probably should have given Mike Castro more money because he had to move all the way from Texas.
Well, if yeah, I mean, and he could have earned that 40,000, which was returned to the city because he didn't stay here 24 months before he left for Bulverde, Texas. So that's, so the bottom line is the city has recollected that 40,000. We're going to utilize that 40,000 with this new city manager contract as proposed.
Again, I just feel like paying what we're paying somebody who has years of experience.
Let me take up the years of experience item because you brought that up earlier. So, while Mike Castro had experience in 5 other cities in the state of Texas and came here, and we thought that he would be very, very capable to be here for a long stint. The challenge in Yukon is that there's some very critical, specific things that you can learn from being here for some time. And Jeff Deckard has been with the city for 3 different stints, spanning from 1988 until the current period, and he spent 16 years inside of the city. So there's some benefit to that. I don't know whether I would look at that of saying, hey, you've worked for 5 cities or you've worked for the city of Yukon for 16 years. I think there's some trade-off there. I feel very good with Jeff Deckard's experience, and I feel very confident, even in his time as interim, that we've already seen significant cost savings to the city. We've already seen some streamline of the operations of the city, and a reorganization of the department structure that's been in place for 30, 40 years.
Again, we could have had this discussion in an executive session if you had waited for me to return. You knew my trip was coming, but yet you set aside the interviews on that day. I set aside my day of training to interview in a hotel room, but yet you couldn't wait for me to come back and vote and have an input on our city manager.
We appreciate you having the time to take out to interview the 6 candidates that interviewed of the 7 that were originally scheduled. And your feedback was duly noted. You interviewed with Ms. Vickery for the entire day, and we appreciate that time commitment, as did all the other council members.
There was no feedback. I was not allowed in the executive session due to state law. I was not allowed into the city council meeting due to state law on Zooming. I did not give Ms. Vickery any because that was not Ms. Vickery's position. It was a city council position where I would have given my feedback. I thought you would have the respect enough of the position to give me a chance to come back and have some input.
Okay.
That's
I would like to throw out, because I've talked to a few people since that vote, and I have voiced that I do regret not arguing that ahead of the vote. So I will apologize
Thank
for
you.
that.
Thank you.
I should have argued that,
Thank you.
and
I
I've spoken
appreciate
to some
that.
people about that.
Thanks.
Any other questions on this contract? Any other discussion items? Seeing no more discussion, Madam Clerk, could you please call the vote?
Selby,
No.
Shriver.
Yes.
Zimmerman,
Yes.
Pillmore,
Yes. At this time, we'll recess as Yukon Municipal Authority, reconvene as Yukon City Council. We'll take up the related item to the previous YMA item 2A. We'll have a discussion and consideration and possible action regarding the approval of employment agreement with Jeffrey Deckard to serve as City Manager, Municipal Authority Manager, and Manager of the Yukon Economic Development Authority as presented in the Yukon Municipal Authority agenda. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
I'll second this item. Any discussion? Seeing no more discussion, Madam Clerk, could you please call the vote?
Selby,
No.
Shriver,
Yes.
Zimmerman,
Yes.
Pillmore,
Yes. Now we'll take up the consent docket. This item is placed on the City Council agenda so that by unanimous consent, the City Council can designate those routine items they wish to be approved by one motion. Should the council determine that any item cannot be approved by a unanimous vote, that item will be removed from the consent docket and considered separately. City Manager recommends a motion that will approve the minutes of the regular meeting of August 13th, 2025, the minutes of the special meeting of August 16th, 2025, payment of material claims in the amount of $2,102,667.68, approval of lease agreements for the Parks and Rec Department for 3-year lease terms subject to annual approval for the period of October 4th, 2025 through October 3rd, 2028, including the Yukon Horseshoe Club, use of Yukon City Park Horseshoe Facility for horseshoe activities, Central Oklahoma RC Club, use of Taylor Park RC Raceway, Yukon BMX, use of Taylor Park BMX Track, Yukon Soccer Club, continued use of Ranchwood Park and Taylor Park for youth soccer, Yukon Christian Athletic Association, use of Hillcrest Park softball field. Approval of designating certain items as surplus and authorizing their sale, trade, donation, or disposal as requested by the Technology Department. Approval of the Magna Grip diesel exhaust service and maintenance contract for the Fire Department as approved in the FY 25-26 budget. Approval of the medical disability retirement of John Niebling. Approval of the request by Joey Morris for an extension of the waiver of permit and development fees for a proposed new restaurant located at 1651 Sheedeck Circle as recommended by the Development Services Director. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Could we pull item H just to have some clarification?
I'll be happy to. Item H will be pulled out and heard in regular order. The motion currently stands. Councilmember Shriver made the motion. Councilmember Shriver, would you amend your motion to only include items A through G?
I will amend my motion to include the items between A through G and drop H.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any other discussion? Seeing no more discussion, Madam Clerk, could you please call the vote?
Selby,
Yes.
Shriver,
Yes.
Zimmerman,
Yes.
Pillmore,
Yes. At this time, we'll take up in regular order the item from the consent docket that was pulled. Item H, approval of the request by Joey Morris for an extension of the waiver of permit and development fees for a proposed new restaurant located at 1651 Sheedeck Circle as recommended by the Development Services Director. Do I hear a motion? I'll make that motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? I'll just chime in that I asked a question prior to council meeting a couple days, or I guess it was Friday when I asked it, of why the Mule restaurant had not broken ground as we discussed with them for the waiver of these fees. They've had some issues with subcontractors is the answer I got back from them. And I said, guys, like, you just had to have your permit pulled and go over and take a shovel to the ground. That was kind of, they laughed at that a little bit, but it's a little bit serious. Like, hey, get a guy with a bobcat and just dig up some ground. And you know, so I support an extension. I think as a council we ought to time bound that extension because I think our original approach was to accelerate the development of this restaurant, which I think is a noble approach. I would support an extension for 45 days. You know, to take it, we had the original date was August 31, take it to October 15. That's what I would support. But you guys tell me what you guys think as a council.
Okay, I thought they were wanting some of their fees waived.
It's waiver of permit
Oh,
fees.
wait, okay, so
Yeah.
talk to me about that.
So the Joey Morris, the owner of the Mule, has reached out about waiving some of their fees. The fees are kind of outlined in your packets. Total fees is right around $11,000, with permit fees of about $1,800. The reason they've asked to have this is the initial builder that they wanted to hire came in way over the price that they could afford for their business model, and so they've went a different direction, and then they had all sorts of subcontractors issues, and they've just requested to have an extension to do this because they could not get the vertical construction completed.
And we
prior to
vote,
August
we
31st.
or just started. But we voted on that in, I believe it was a May meeting that we voted on this as a council for them to have a waiver of these fees if they broke ground by August 31st, and that obviously they had some hiccups with that.
But they're still planning on coming.
Oh, yeah, very
Yes.
much so. They're
I
very
mean, I
excited
ate
about
the
being
Mule
here.
in Edmond on Saturday, and I want them here.
Yes.
Yes, this is the first time they've built a ground-up restaurant, so
Okay.
this is a new venture for them, and they're very excited and really want to be here. So
Okay.
we've been working with them as best we can.
Okay. Just didn't understand why they hadn't.
Yeah, they've ran into
Da-
some issues on their end.
Danielle, was there a time frame that they thought on the extension?
They wanted to leave that up to council's discretion. Joey's hoping to be here, but I guess something popped up. I talked to him earlier today, but he said just what he was going to leave it at council's discretion.
I mean, is October 15th going to be feasible for them?
It sounds like it. When I talked with him, he said that they were working with a different developer, and it sounded very promising, and they was going to get the quotes back. Should be this week.
Okay.
Okay, so approval of a request, we have on the table, I seconded it. Who made the original
I
motion?
think you made it.
you made it.
Oh, I made the
Zimmerman
motion,
second.
Amend my motion to set the deadline for October the 15th. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any other discussion? Seeing no additional discussion, Madam Clerk, will you please call the vote?
Selby,
Yes.
Shriver,
No.
Zimmerman,
Yes.
Pillmore,
Yes. At this time, we'll have discussion and possible action to consider approval of resolution number 2025-10 to include approving voting to accept the 13th Amendment Joint Chapter 11 Plan of Reorganization of Purdue and its affiliated directors and participation in case number 19-23649 pending in the United States Bankruptcy Court for the Southern District of New York, and authorizing and directing its legal counsel to vote to accept the plan via master ballot or otherwise, approving to accept and participate in the Governmental Entities Settlement Agreement, the GESA, dated June 17, 2025, and authorizing mayor of the city of Yukon or the mayor's designee to execute the subdivision participation form for the city of Yukon's participation in the GESA, and approval of the Purdue State Subdivision Agreement as it pertains to the plan and the GESA, and approving voting to accept and participate in the settlement agreements with Alvogen Inc., Amneal Pharmaceuticals, Apotex Inc., Hitka Pharmaceuticals USA Inc., Indivior Inc., Mylan Pharmaceuticals, Sun Pharmaceutical Industries, Zydus Pharmaceuticals, and authorizing the mayor of the city of Yukon or the mayor's designee to execute the subdivision participation form for the city of Yukon's participation in the settlements with Alvogen Inc., Amneal Pharmaceuticals Inc., Apotex Inc., Hitka Pharmaceuticals USA, Indivior Inc., Mylan Pharmaceuticals, Sun Pharmaceuticals Industries, and Zydus Pharmaceuticals, and authorizing litigation counsel in the opioid litigation to negotiate and enter into a state subdivision agreement with the state through the Attorney General on behalf of the city of Yukon with respect to the generic small secondary manufacturer settlements. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second? I'll second this item. The background on this is that we've had outside counsel for some time. Todd Court, I believe, of McAfee and Taft, has been representing the city in these opioid litigations, and I mean, just about every municipality of size out there has some form of representation and some claim to these settlements. These are wrapping up, and there's a final settlement agreement in place. Roger, as well as Todd Court, have reviewed these in detail, and based on their feedback to me, recommended that we add it to the council agenda for the council to review and approve. I'm not an expert in opioid litigation settlements, but I appreciate that we've retained outside counsel and have attorney Todd Court working on this on our behalf.
I do have some information that Mr. Court sent me that might be helpful. He said joining these settlements is highly recommended as we do not have claims against some of the small manufacturers, but can participate. And also the Purdue Gisa Sacklers, that's the one that's been in the news, is the best that we can get. He said their group, which is McAfee Taft, Todd Court, and Tony Puckett have been working on this. They said they worked hard through several bankruptcy mediations to get that done. The amount from each will depend upon getting full participation from both the litigating and non-litigating cities that are eligible. If they reach maximum incentives, Yukon would receive close to $90,000 from Purdue Sacklers and about $35,000 from the small manufacturers, according to their calculations. We don't know that they'll get the max participation because of those that are not litigating, but they're participating, encouraging that. So it would be money for the city, and the money would be earmarked for specific uses. It wouldn't be just general fund monies, but used to help battle the epidemic crisis.
And I would like us just to really take into consideration the families that have been affected by this, and use this money, if we get it, to fight the drug abuse, and not prevention as much as dealing with kids that are actually in the midst of addiction. And see us do a drug court, or see us do free drug counseling that we offer to some of our individuals that don't have insurance. But I would love to see us not just put up signs, do that, but to actually do hardcore counseling.
I'd like to chime in on this too. You know, these drugs, these companies who manufacture these drugs need to be held accountable for what they've done, not only to families but communities as a whole. We are in an epidemic of opioids, and it is destroying people's lives and family lives. I would also like to see if we get some of this funds to go towards education of, to families to help those who are addicted and those that families that are dealing with the addicts as well. So this is a little close to home this week.
Thank you, Councilwoman Selby and Councilmember Schreiber. Appreciate that. Any other discussion on this item? Seeing no additional discussion, Madam Clerk, could you please call the vote?
Selby,
Yes.
Shriver,
Yes.
Zimmerman,
Yes.
Pillmore,
Yes. We'll strike item 10. Take up item 11. At this time, we'll have discussion and possible action to enter executive session pursuant to 25 OS 307B3 to discuss the purchase or appraisal of real property. Do I hear a motion?
So move.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing no more discussion, Madam Clerk, could you please call the vote?
Selby,
Yes.
Shriver,
Yes.
Zimmerman,
Yes.
Pillmore,
Yes.
Can I just say something before we go into executive session in case you guys leave, because you don't ever know how long? I just would like to invite all of you to Jacob's Cupboard Sunday. It's a food pantry in memory of our son at Vaca, who died from a drug overdose, accidental drug overdose. And so 15 years ago, we opened a nonprofit food pantry. We don't take government money because they tell us who we can and cannot give to. And let me tell you, folks, our need has tripled. The amount of people hurting in our community is really sad right now, and our donations have gone down half. So I'd love to invite you all Sunday to Vaca from 4 to 5:30.
Thank you, Councilwoman
Just
Selby.
afraid y'all might leave.
I'm going to add it to my calendar. I will be there, and I encourage all community members to come.
Thanks.
Accidentally.
Well, they didn't leave. They stuck around.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
At this time, I make a motion to reconvene from executive session. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing no more discussion, Madam Clerk, could you please call the vote?
Selby,
Yes.
Shriver,
Yes.
Zimmerman,
Yes.
Pillmore,
Yes. At this time, I'll read the minutes from executive session. While in executive session, only the items in the agenda were discussed. No action was taken. No votes were cast. We'll have possible discussion and action from executive session. I make a motion to direct the city manager to explore a potential property purchase and to develop renovation budgets to report back to the council at a future meeting. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing no more discussion, Madam Clerk, could you please call the vote?
Selby,
Yes.
Shriver,
Yes.
Zimmerman,
Yes.
Pillmore.
Yes. Madam Clerk, do we have any new business?
No, Mr. Mayor.
At this time, we'll have an abbreviated financial report from Finance Director Brian Chris. Welcome, sir.
Good evening. Thank you, Jerome. It is very brief. From the timing of this month's meeting, we're early enough in the month. We have not fully reconciled last month, and we just got sales tax dollars today, so I don't have that broken out for you yet on this report. I do have a couple of things, though, that I wanted to share. We kind of leaned into this a little bit last meeting, but I just thought it'd be a good opportunity since we have the time together to just dig into a couple of items. One of those is use tax, and the other is our pest fund. We talked about it a little bit, but just to kind of reiterate what that is, that's a public employee sales tax. It's broken down into three different accounts or funds within that fund, three separate accounts. One for police department at 36.23% of receipts. 30% goes to the fire department, and 33 1/3 goes to the general employees. It's intended to provide competitive compensation and equipment to each group. It was passed by Ordinance 1132 on December 16th of 2003. Again, I think it's really valuable to know this information. We talk about pest funds a lot, but we don't always maybe take the time for everybody to have a clear understanding of what they are and how they're used. So breaking it out, police department, again, is 36 2/3%. It's specifically spelled out in that ordinance that was passed. It can be used for competitive compensation and benefits, additional police personnel, and police-related equipment, and those are the only uses of those funds. Fire department has a 30% take of what is received within the pest. It's broken down into 3 different uses, which is competitive compensation, additional fire personnel, and then fire-related equipment. Again, very similar to police. Those are the only things those can be used for. And then general employees. So that's the last portion there. 33 1/3% is what is set aside for general employees. Again, broken down into 3 different uses. This one specifically spells out additional full-time employees, competitive compensation and benefits, and then equipment as it relates to general full-time employees.
Wonder why they didn't just do 33 1/3, 33 1/3.
That is a great question, and I don't know the answer
Joe,
to
you're
it.
older than dirt. Were you on there when that happened? Were you? Correct, were you on council when that happened? Uh-huh. Yeah, do you remember, okay, fire department, you weren't on council, you're on something else, planning. Do you remember why we did it that way? Why?
Please, sir, please approach the podium if you will, Mr. Knuckles.
I got one more slide if you want to do it.
Craig Knuckles, 1312 Cambridge Drive. Yeah, it actually started before the public employees were in there, and then they went by the number of fire personnel that were allotted, not that were on duty, that were allotted, and the police personnel. Well, police had more lots than fire, and so that's why the percentage was different. And then when we met with the public employees, rightfully so, they said, hey, we need to do this too, and we said, absolutely. And so while they didn't get as big a share per dollar that it got in there, they were included in that. But anyway, right, wrong, or indifferent, that's how it was, that was how it was done.
Okay, just
Thank you.
wondering.
Thank you for that background, sir.
Boy, the fire, you guys, y'all didn't fight very hard.
Last slide I have for you today, that was a little bit, like I said, an overview of pest. The other thing I wanted to talk about is use tax. We talk about sales tax, and I think that one is very straightforward to most people. That makes sense. Use tax is essentially a tax on tangible personal property that's purchased in another state, but then used, stored, or consumed within Yukon. We receive 4 cents, just like we do sales tax. Of that, 1996, we passed that 1 cent of that would go to only capital improvements, and then 3 cents is designated for general fund use. Use tax is intended to ensure fair competition between in-state and out-of-state retailers, so the intent is to keep those tax dollars here to benefit our citizens, even if they're purchased from states, businesses that choose, do business out of state if it's being used and is delivered here. So,
Thank you, Mr.
just a brief overview. I will have August update for you on financials at October's meeting.
Perfect. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for your time.
Thank you.
City Manager Deckard.
Nothing, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. At this time, we'll have reports from the, or any comments that council members would like to make. This time is meant for announcements, recognitions, et cetera, concerning the municipal body or community matters. It's not intended for the conduct of city business by members of the public body. We'll open up the floor for each council person to say a few words in closing, and we'll begin with Councilmember Selby.
Just thank you all for continuing to come, and it's great to see your faces here.
Thank you. Councilmember Zimmerman.
Thoughts and prayers to the people in Minko. I mean, I know hundreds of people throughout the school year that crisscross the state with buses full of kids, myself included, and that's your worst nightmare. So,
Absolutely. Councilmember Shriver.
I'd like to echo what Mr. Zimmerman said with the Lady Bulldogs. That's a pretty bad deal. And another thing I'd like to mention is when this room is full and we say the Pledge of Allegiance to that flag, we sound beautiful.
Even if we're going the wrong direction.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Councilmember Shriver. I will, let's see here. Nope, I didn't receive any. I was just looking for upcoming events here in Yukon. I don't have any items here that are noted, but please tune into our social media channels, which are always updated with the latest events. I would like to echo our hearts and our prayers are going out to everyone in Minco, especially those that are involved in the sports community. And we got the text from some extended family members that attend Minco schools last night to begin praying. And I thank everyone for praying for fellow members of our close neighbors. And Minco and Union City and that whole area is just very close to Yukon, and we appreciate that. At this time, this meeting is adjourned.